Out of all the Green Lanterns in the entire DC cosmos, all those shining examples of pure willpower, from the stoic Jon Stewart to the classic hero Hal Jordan, why would James Gunn, the guy building a whole new DC universe, decide to kick things off with the single most obnoxious, arrogant, and universally disliked lantern of them all? Why Guy Gardner? Let's be clear, this isn't a mistake. It's not some random choice. This is a calculated, strategic, and honestly, a genius move to completely shake up the DC universe from the very beginning. Welcome back to Heroscope.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
The announcement sent a shockwave through the fan community. Not Hal Jordan, the daring test pilot, not Jon Stewart, the disciplined architect. Nope, the first Green Lantern to officially show up in James Gunn's new DCU on the big screen will be Guy Gardner. The loudmouth, the jerk, the guy famous for getting knocked out by Batman with one punch.
You're going to regret it.
That I'd like to see!
One punch! One punch!
On the surface, it seems like creative suicide. Why would you build a new world on the foundation of a hero who is, by all accounts, a total pain in the neck? That's the big question, and the answer reveals a secret strategy to set this universe apart from everything that's come before. This isn't just about picking a Green Lantern, it's about picking a direction. And to make it all work, Gunn has hired the perfect man for the job, Nathan Fillion.
Say that again, I don't think I heard you, sir.
To really get the genius of this choice, you first have to understand the problem. Who exactly is Guy Gardner? And how did he earn this reputation as the Corp's resident black sheep? Guy Gardner's story starts with a simple twist of fate. When Abin Sur crash-landed on Earth, his power ring found two equally worthy candidates. One was Hal Jordan, the other, Guy Gardner. The ring chose Hal just because he was closer. So from the very beginning, Guy was defined as the runner-up, the second choice, fueling a massive inferiority complex he'd hide behind pure bravado. But the personality we know and hate today wasn't always there. He started as a gym teacher and social worker for disabled kids. His early life was filled with trauma. An abusive, alcoholic father who praised his brother while dishing out daily abuse to Guy. This shaped his defensive, confrontational shell. He even got his infamous bowl cut trying to look like a comic book sidekick named General Glory, childhood escapism that became his signature disaster. His life was one bad break after another. Football injury ended his athletic career, got hit by a bus saving a student, fell into a coma. While unconscious, Jon Stewart was chosen as Hal's backup. Later, a power battery exploded in his face, throwing him into the Phantom Zone where Kryptonian criminals tormented him. Another coma. When he woke up, the combination of childhood trauma and repeated brain injuries had changed him forever. The writers in the late 1980s turned him into a parody of an 80s action hero, a hyper-masculine loudmouth, always challenging Batman's leadership. He was the useful idiot who'd charge into any fight convinced he was the best.
Watch it, lunkhead!
His arrogance was legendary. He'd brag about being the one true Green Lantern while making everyone miserable. He was that coworker who thinks they're God's gift to the office, but is actually just really annoying. And then there's the punch, the moment that defined him forever. After mouthing off to Batman one too many times, Guy takes off his ring and challenges him to a fistfight. Batman ends it with a single perfect punch to the jaw, knocking Guy out cold. Blue Beetle gleefully yelling, one punch," became iconic. It perfectly summed up his role, the buffoon whose ego wrote checks his body couldn't cash. But here's what people miss. Despite being a world-class jerk, Guy Gardner is a hero. The Green Lantern ring doesn't pick nice people, it picks fearless people. And Guy Gardner is absolutely fearless. His whole life has been fighting fear and trauma, and he's never backed down. He's the guy who'll fly into a dying sun to save friends, stand up to tyrants, and underneath all that bluster has a real hero's heart. He even led the Red Lantern Corps and tried to make them a force for good. This is who James Gunn picked. Not a simple hero, but a walking contradiction, a powder keg of insecurity and unearned confidence. And that's exactly what makes him perfect for the job. So why is this genius? 3 reasons. Setting a unique tone, creating the perfect narrative foil, and brilliantly subverting expectations.
Allow me to break the ice.
First, tone. The old DC movies were criticized for being too grim and serious. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, movies that forgot to have fun. Gunn's vision is a direct answer to that. He wants a world that's hopeful and kind, but also grounded and funny. There's no better character to signal this than Guy Gardner. By putting someone so flawed and comedic front and center, Gunn immediately tells audiences this DCU is different. It's not a universe of untouchable gods, it's messy, relatable people with superpowers. Gunn's biggest hits are built on finding humanity in misfits and losers. Guy Gardner is the ultimate James Gunn character, fundamentally good but wrapped in dysfunction, trauma, and terrible decision-making. This is a universe where heroes can be jerks with terrible haircuts. Speaking of which, keeping Guy's bowl cut is a masterstroke. Fillion fought for it, saying, "It's canon. If we don't do a bowl cut, we're going to hear about it." This tells comic fans Gunn respects the source material, even the silly parts, and tells everyone else this universe isn't afraid to get weird. Second, he's the perfect narrative foil. The DCU kicks off with Superman, the ultimate symbol of truth and justice. Now imagine dropping Guy Gardner into that world. The ultimate Boy Scout meets a man whose main superpower is overconfidence.
Need a hand, guy?
No.
That creates instant conflict. You don't need world-ending threats. Just put Superman and Guy in the same room. Guy will challenge Superman's authority and be a massive pain in the cape. Through that friction, we learn about both characters. We'll see Superman's patience pushed to its limits, while glimpsing the hero buried under Guy's shell. It's like putting a perfect orchestra next to a guy banging pots and pans. The contrast makes the music more beautiful, and occasionally, you realize the pots guy has rhythm. Finally, it's about subverting expectations. By launching with Guy instead of predictable Hal or John, Gunn keeps audiences guessing. It gets people talking and asking, why him? It signals this isn't a repeat of what we've seen. When Hal and John appear in the Lanterns series, they'll enter a world where the public's first Green Lantern impression is a hot-headed jerk with a bowl cut. Imagine Jon Stewart showing up after Guy's made headlines for accidentally destroying a hot dog cart during a heroic landing. John will have to work twice as hard to prove Green Lanterns aren't all ego-driven disasters. But this whole strategy depends on one thing: casting. And Nathan Fillion is perfect for the job. A character this abrasive could be a disaster in live action. In wrong hands, Guy Gardner would just be insufferable. But Nathan Fillion has built his career playing lovable rogues and charming jerks. Think Malcolm Reynolds in Firefly, cynical and sarcastic but anchored by loyalty and a hidden hero's heart. Think Richard Castle, an arrogant man-child who was somehow endearing. Fillion makes you root for characters who should be completely unlikable. He can deliver arrogant lines with a twinkle that says it's okay to laugh with and at him.
You watch the show. I like that. So,
That's exactly what Guy Gardner needs. Annoying enough that we understand why teammates want to strangle him, but charming enough that we still want to watch. Fillion gets the character. He's refreshingly honest in interviews. He's a jerk, but then adds the crucial understanding. You don't have to be good to be a Green Lantern, you just have to be fearless. So, Guy Gardner is fearless, and he is not very good. He's not trying to make Guy likable or sand down rough edges. He's embracing the flaws while understanding the heroic core. That's what will make this work. Fillion talks about how liberating it is to play someone so flawed. Very freeing as an actor because you ask, what's the most selfish thing I can do? And that's the answer. Most actors would try making Guy sympathetic, but Fillion's leaning into what makes him terrible. His history with Gunn is a huge advantage. They have creative shorthand. Gunn offered him the part at the Suicide Squad premiere, whispering, "You're gonna be Guy Gardner." A director who knew he had the perfect instrument for his symphony, Fillion's presence ensures Guy Gardner will be irresistibly watchable. The character you love to complain about but can't wait to see more of. But there's another layer. Fillion has decades of fan goodwill. He's Captain Mal, Richard Castle, the guy who makes everyone's day at Comic-Con. When Nathan Fillion plays a jerk, we trust there's something more there. That built-in trust is crucial. Without it, audiences might write Guy off as irredeemable. With it, they'll stick around to see what Fillion does, looking for moments where the real hero shines through. It's like casting Tom Hanks as a villain. Even doing terrible things, you keep waiting for him to reveal he was actually good all along. Fillion has that same quality. This choice signals the entire DCU direction. By starting with the most difficult, unlikable character, Gunn's making a statement about the stories he wants to tell. This universe will be built on complexity, not simplicity. It'll ask hard questions about heroism, worthiness, and whether being good equals being a good hero. Guy embodies these contradictions. He's a hero through random chance, struggles with personal issues, and often makes things worse before better. That's more interesting than alien crashes gives ring to perfect human. It sets up fascinating dynamics. When Superman meets Guy, we're seeing two philosophies of heroism collide. Superman believes in inspiring through example. Guy believes in solving problems through force and volume. The choice allows incredible character growth. Guy has nowhere to go but up. He's starting at the bottom of likability, so every small heroic moment will hit harder. By the time we get other Green Lanterns, audiences will understand how rings work and what the Corps represents, but also that Green Lanterns aren't perfect. When Jon Stewart shows up with military discipline, it won't be, here's another Green Lantern, but here's what a Green Lantern looks like with their act together. Gunn's playing chess while everyone else plays checkers, building a narrative ecosystem where every character makes others more interesting by contrast. Let's be honest, this is risky. Audiences don't always respond well to unlikable protagonists. Making Guy Gardner your first Green Lantern is like opening a restaurant with the most challenging dish on the menu. If this fails, it could poison the well for all Green Lantern content. People might think, if this is what Green Lanterns are like, I don't want more. There's also risk of alienating comic fans. Some might feel Gunn's making fun of the source material, or doesn't understand what makes DC special. But if it works spectacularly. A successful Guy Gardner movie doesn't just succeed, it revolutionizes superhero movies. It proves audiences are ready for complex, challenging heroes. It sets up the DCU to tell stories nobody else can. Marvel's built on fundamentally likable characters. Even when flawed, Tony Stark's charmingly arrogant. Steve Rogers is nobly out of time. Guy Gardner is straight up difficult, opening storytelling possibilities other universes can't access. Imagine the team-ups. Guy trying to work with Flash, Wonder Woman, or especially Batman. The dynamics are endless, all built on Guy being genuinely hard to work with. The reward is differentiation. In a crowded superhero landscape, the DCU needs to stand out. Guy Gardner, as your first Green Lantern, certainly makes you stand out. If Fillion can make Guy someone we love to hate rather than just hate, Gunn will have pulled off something incredible, turning the most difficult character into a secret weapon. This is a bold new era for DC, and Guy Gardner is leading the charge. It's designed to get people talking and lay groundwork for a universe that feels more human, flawed, and interesting. But what do you think? Stroke of genius or disaster waiting to happen? Is Nathan Fillion the perfect actor for the job? Let us know in the comments. Are you excited to see Fillion unleash his inner jerk, or should Gunn have played it safe with Hal Jordan? Now, to conclude this, why did James Gunn pick the most hated Lantern? Because it's a declaration of purpose. By choosing Guy Gardner, Gunn's announcing his DCU won't be tied to old rules. It'll embrace weirdness, find heroes in flawed characters, and isn't afraid to laugh at itself. Guy Gardner isn't just a character, he's a mission statement. He represents a shift toward complex, character-driven stories where internal fights matter as much as external ones. He's the perfect foil for Superman, creating instant tension and making the Man of Steel shine brighter. He's brilliant expectation subversion, demanding attention and announcing a fresh start. With Nathan Fillion, an actor born to play charming difficult men, the character's set up not just to work, but to become a fan favorite. Fillion will make us love to hate Guy Gardner. While starting with everyone's least favorite hero seems crazy, it's actually a smart risk designed to build a richer, more engaging world. Gunn isn't just giving us another Green Lantern, he's giving us a reason to see the entire DC universe through a new, more interesting lens. The most hated Green Lantern might just become the DCU's secret weapon, and that's exactly the kind of surprise that makes superhero movies worth watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into comic book movie strategy, like and subscribe HeroScope for more. We'll be covering all the DCU developments, and if Guy Gardner's any indication, it's going to be a wild ride.